Welcome to Virtualize Everything, where we strive to educate and inform the viewer about technology and technology-related topics around the industry of virtualization. Today's presentation is going to be another Installing Proxmox 7 video. As always, a little disclaimer before we move into this video. We're going to use Proxmox to install Proxmox on. This installation is not a recommended installation technique, but it is a useful way to allow us to record the installation process and allow us to create videos for you to view. So here is the installation from the previous Proxmox installation that we did. So as you can see, we only used a single hard drive right here. Today, we're going to set up a little bit different of a system because we're going to be installing Proxmox on a ZFS RAID array. Now, ZFS installed in this manner is a software RAID installation. For more information on software versus hardware RAID, go ahead and check out the internet. But there are some benefits and drawbacks of using software RAID. I'm going to start this video off making a VM. So here's the VM that we just created, and you can see that we still only just have one hard drive. I'm going to go ahead and add 2 more drives. Now, the actual number of drives isn't important, but you need to have more than one in order to do this. So, now that I have set up all of the parameters for Proxmox 7 inside of our Proxmox server, we can go ahead and start the server and I can show you the installation process. So, going through just like our previous Proxmox 7 installation video, we're going to press enter. And just like in our previous Proxmox 7 installation video, we get an error saying that Intel VT AMD V is not supported. We understand that this is because we're inside of Proxmox. But if you are installing and to see this error message, you should check your BIOS configuration and your hardware to make sure that virtualization is supported. We're going to read through the entire EULA and click Agree. Now, here, for the target drive, you can see 3 drives. I'm going to press Option, and for File System drop-down, we have some different options. Now, today's video is going to be about setting up ZFS and installing Proxmox. So we're not going to get into the options down here, but as you can see, you have a couple of different options for ZFS. The first 3 options are 2 different RAID options, or 3 different RAID options, and then you have RAID Z in 1, 2, and 3 as well. Today, I am just going to use ZFS RAID 1, but all 3 of these ZFS RAID options will be set up similarly. So now I can click that, and you see that my 3 hard drives populate down here, and they're available. So all I need to do at this point is just click OK, and we are ready to install Proxmox in a ZFS RAID 1 array. So now we can click Next, move on to our country information, click Next after filling it out, enter a password and a valid email address. If you would not like to give Proxmox your email address or feel hesitant in some way, none@none.com does work. However, later on, if you wanted to set up email notifications, you're going to have some challenges. So, choose wisely as you configure your system. I'm going to now hit Next, and here is the IP address information for my server. Note that your server will definitely require a static IP address, so the IP address assigned by your DHCP server should not be used. Instead, you should set an IP address outside of your DHCP range so that your server does not experience any IP conflicts on your network. You can also change PVE to something else, like VE, to rename your server. So here, where you see power, this new server will be called VE. Make sure all of our settings are configured right, and press Install. Now, Proxmox is going to go ahead and build the ZFS depending on what you chose, as well as installing the operating system. Alrighty, now that we've finished installing Proxmox, it's time for a reboot. So now, as you can see, Proxmox is up and running. We can go ahead and log into our web interface just as we would any Proxmox server by opening a web browser, typing https:// the IP address that we assigned to the server, colon to denote a port address 8006. Now for Brave, we can click Advanced and click Proceed. Your browser may differ a little bit, but the similar steps will have to be taken to tell your browser that it is safe to proceed to your Proxmox server. Your login will be root and then a password of whatever you set during the installation process. Now you have logged in to the web interface for your new server. As you notice here, the new server is called VE, just like my old server that is hosting this new installation is called Power. And since we're running RAID, you can notice that our hard drive size is just the same 30 gigs because we're in RAID 1, which means that we have multiple redundant disks. The reason that it is not the full 32 gigs is that we're giving 2 gigs to our local server for ISO and backup storage disks as default. And the rest of the 30 gigs is for storing your containers and your VMs. I hope if you're configuring your server that you're not using 32 gig drives. But this is the reason why we only have a couple of gigs for each drive. So I hope you enjoyed today's video on setting up Proxmox with a ZFS pool and installing it. In an upcoming video, I'll show you how to do things like adding an SSD cache drive to accelerate the read-write speed of your ZFS array. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and click the bell icon so that you're always up to date with the latest content from Virtualize Everything. As always, have a good night.